Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem El Shai, Ba'ashem El Rakar Kudas. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah. This is a read through, a commentary of the book of Acts, the 23rd chapter, which reads, And Paul earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before the Most High until this day. The high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Paul unto him, The Most High shall smite thee, thou whited wall. All right, the whited wall is talking about, they basically used to white the walls of the sepulchres upon the entrance. All right. And this is obviously a reference to another way of saying of what another. I mean, it possibly could be slang, but but it's what the Lord first initially said in Matthew 23 about woe, when dealing with the wicked scribes and Pharisees, and saying woe unto them, who on outward appearance are white like that of a sepulchre, but inside a dead man's bones. So it's the same thing that's being said by Paul. All right. For sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? So he's basically saying, you're judging me in accordance with the law, but you're not hit the fact that you're instructing another man to hit me is not in accordance with the law. And they that stood by said, Revilest thou the Most High's high priest? Then said Paul, I wist not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it was written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. So Paul basically said it plainly that he didn't know, all right? And he basically, followed through with the law and said, look, if I know the law and I wouldn't have done it in accordance with the law. Where it says, but when Paul perceived that one part was Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called in question. All right? So Paul read the room and basically, used knowing that the differences in doctrine, even though they were all confederate in being against Paul, they had different means as to why they were there in opposition against Paul. All right, but they weren't totally, it was, what's the word? What's the saying I'm looking for? It was it served the means to an end. Them the scribes and Pharisees, the wicked scribes and Pharisees, pairing up in opposition to Paul. Verse 7, and when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. All right. So that's it. And this is, but, well, let me read on. It says, For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. So he basically had the Sadducees that basically said there's no resurrection, meaning there's no life after death, neither angels nor spirits. So many accounts within the scriptures, they're basically staunch against, all right? And it shows you that there's no end to the madness. There's always going to be someone that's contrary to the doctrine. And in this day and age, even though you have people that follow after Yahweh Shai, quote, quote unquote, that's not necessarily the case, all right? They're following that other white meat. But if you would have gone back 2,000 years ago, they would have been, these same individuals today would have been staunchly against Yahweh Shai, all right? So reading on verse 9, and there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were of the Pharisees, excuse me, Part arose and strove, saying, we find no evil in this man. But if a spirit or an angel has spoken to him, let us not fight against the Most High. All right. So they were looking at like, well, if it's a spiritual occurring in accordance with, and possibly, this cry, the individuals that said this or the individual that said this may even be stirring the pot that much more. All right. But they were in alignment with Paul, as we read you see. And when there arose a great dissension, the chief, as you can see, should I say, and when there arose a great dissension, the chief captain, fair and least Paul, should have been pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and to take him by force from among them, and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome. All right? So the Lord basically laid it out. Look, you're going to go to Rome and you're going to do the same thing. Slakia. You're gonna stand before the councils of men and basically declare Yahushua's glory before men. All right? And when it was day, certain of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. All right, and they were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. And they came to the chief priests and elders and said, we have bound ourselves under a great curse, that we will not eat nothing until we have slain Paul. Now therefore ye with the council signify to the chief captain that he bring him down unto you tomorrow, as though ye would inquire something more perfectly concerning him, and we or ever he come near are ready to kill him. When Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, he went and entered into the castle and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions unto him and said, bring this young man unto the chief captain, for he hath a certain thing to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the chief captain and said, Paul, the prisoner, called me unto him and prayed me to bring his young man unto thee, who have something to say unto thee. Then the chief captain took him by the hand and went with him aside privately, and asked him, what is that thou hast to tell me? And he said, the Jews have agreed to desire thee, that thou wouldest bring down Paul tomorrow into the council, as though they would inquire somewhat of him more perfectly. But do not yield unto them, for they lie in wait of them more than 40 men, which have bound themselves with an oath, and they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him. And now are they ready, looking for a promise from thee. All right? And this shows you the Lord's words being perfected, all right? Because he prophesied unto Paul, all right? The testimony of Yahushua is a spirit of prophecy. He prophesied unto Paul that he would make, he would be a witness unto him in Rome, right? And almost immediately after those words was said by the Lord, what happened? 40 men bound themselves in a curse to kill him, to not eat, all right? Which showing you the great speed at which they wanted to kill Paul. All right, they said they wouldn't eat or drink nothing till they'd kill Paul. All right, but then the Lord showing you how great his power is, how his arm is not short to deliver. Instantaneously had it where the words that were said in darkness were brought to light and brought before Paul to be brought before they that had him in bondage. All right, onto the coming council. That basically they, rule of being not a terror unto good works, whereby they basically, as we're going to read on, took care of Paul, all right, in accordance with what the Lord said. All right, verse 22, so the chief captain then let the young man depart and charged him, see thou tell no man that thou hast showed these things to me. And he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, Make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 70, and spearmen 200. And the 3rd hour of the night, all right, and provide them beasts, that they may set Paul on and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. All right. Excuse me. So there was 40 men laying in wait for Paul. The Lord timed that by 5, all right, as a means of protection unto Paul with the centurions, and even the number 5 denotes power, all right. I mean, I ain't no breakdown. I'm just extrapolating, It just shows you that the Lord had 5. The might that the left hand had for Paul being 40, the Heavenly Father came on the right hand side with 5 times the strength of that. All right. So it says, and he wrote a letter after this manner: Claudius Lysis, unto the most excellent governor Felix, sendeth greeting. This man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them. Then came I, an army, and rescued him, having understood he was a Roman. All right. And that shows you, all right, the Lord, just set up in the spirit for everything to work in accordance. And when I would have known the cause whereof they accused him, I brought him forth into their council, and whom I perceived to be accused of questions of their law, but have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bond. And when it was told me how the Jews laid wait for the man, I sent straightway to thee, and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him farewell. Then the soldiers, as it was commanded them, took Paul and brought him on by night to Antipatris. On the morrow they left the horsemen to go with him, and returned to the castle, who when they came to Caesarea and delivered the epistle to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And when the governor had read the letter, he asked of what province he was, and when he understood that he was of Cilicia, I will hear thee, said he, when thine accusers are also come. And he commanded him to be kept in Herod's judgment hall. So with that, I pray you're edified. To the next one, say shalom, shalom.